thank you so much for taking time to jump on the pod and jump on the show. I know you're busy driving and in transit and all those things, so I appreciate it.
Sorry about my poor timing on the transit timing.
No, dude, this is all part of the
Yeah.
game. It's totally fine. We're here to talk about your return to Australia. You're coming back on tour with the guys in Free Throw, and it's your second time here. Sorry, you were here with Mum Jeans in 2023. So let's
hmm
start. Let's start there. Are you pumped to return? What's the vibe like?
Oh yeah, we're very stoked. Yeah, we've known Free Throw for a long time, and we've played a lot of played like Riot Fests and like various festival one-off shows and stuff. But we've never gotten to actually tour with them. So this is the first time, and I've known them since like 2013 or 14. I've toured with them in a previous band and stuff, and then also just being able to come back to Australia obviously is like, and there's a few more shows on this one that I think the Mom Jeans one was just like 6 shows, and this
Mm.
one we're actually we have a few dates where we drive between them instead of flying. It was all flights on the Mom Jeans tour, but yeah, no, but we have like a little stint in the middle where we're in a van for a few days, which is cool. I'm
Yeah,
excited to see the Australian, not just the airport.
kind of crazy that you've known the guys in Free Throw for so long, yet the first tour link up is like on the other side of the world in a different country. That's kind of a
Yeah.
weird coincidence, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like it's just been like a, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why we haven't toured with them before here. It just
Yeah,
hasn't been in like the whatever the dynamics of the tours were with like what the bills were and how big the bands were or whatever. I feel
yeah,
like we've been at like a about the same size bandish for or similar size bands or whatever for almost like we've grown as bands. I feel like at about the same rate and stuff, and so we would be pitched for the same tours and stuff in the same slots and whatever.
yeah.
So it's like been like it just happened to be like a yeah.
Yeah, I think lineup wise, like it definitely makes sense to me and kind of a no brainer in terms of like audience and overlap. And obviously, you guys know each other as well. So, like, the vibe is fine. But, like, yeah, for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. It didn't line up until now. So, Australian fans
Yeah.
get to have that for them. So, that's sick.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked. Yeah, it'll be good vibes. Just being able to chill with Free Throw. And then especially since it's like a fun vacation going to Australia. I'm stoked that it's gonna be. Is it like cold-ish there? Like a
So
little
I'm
sweater?
in, yeah, so we're in the middle of winter at the moment, and I'm based in Melbourne in Victoria, so like towards the south of the country, and it's
Yeah.
definitely cold here now. I think, in some of the northern states and like northern cities, maybe not so cold, but it's definitely our winter technically. So
Yeah. Or is there part of Australia that has like the tropical season, like where it's raining, or is it just south of where that would be? I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
so pretty much everything from like Queensland up, so like Brisbane and stuff, is pretty much all in like our tropic area. So
Yeah.
if you go up to like the very top of Queensland, thinking of like Cairns and stuff like that's right in the
Yeah.
Tropic of Capricorn, and that's like it barely gets cold there. It's pretty much hot and humid
Is
like
it
the whole
is it
time.
like all rain right now? Is
Yeah,
it raining there like all the time now?
I mean, it probably does, but our rainy season is the summer, obviously. So that would be like your winter
Yeah.
time, like the Christmas time. Like our Christmas is usually like storms, rain, cyclones,
Oh.
all of the crazy shit. So we have the
Okay. Well.
reverse of you guys. We don't have the white Christmas. We have storm season.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
cool.
Um, when you were here last time with Mom Jeans in 2023, you were between album cycles. You were kind of coming out of COVID. You were still playing stuff from Death is a Warm Blanket. And then last year, you put out the new record, Let's Start Degeneracy. So on this tour, I would assume you're going to be playing some new stuff. So you're probably excited to do that.
For
Um,
sure.
let's talk about the new record. So it's been out for a year, just over a year, maybe. I can't remember when it
Yep.
came out last year. Um, how are you feeling about the reception of the record? How are you feeling, with a little bit of time out of release?
It's been good. I feel like it's been like a bump in our, like, the shows have been a little bigger and stuff in the United States and everything. And it seems like in general was a good response. Yeah, no, there's a lot of the new songs we use like sequencers and keyboards and stuff, which we had for like the US tours playing the songs. So kind of the challenges of like trying to figure out how to come to Australia for this one was like, but like we can't like put, or like how do we fly with keyboards and stuff.
Yeah,
So we've had to drop a few of the new songs. We wish we could be playing more new songs, but we're still playing like three or four or whatnot. But it was like, which keyboards do we bring and how do we like put them in a suitcase where they don't get broken?
yeah, totally. I was listening to another podcast interview that you did this morning when I was putting together notes
Yeah.
for our chat, and you talked about the writing process for the new record and kind of going from the sound of the previous record to what eventually became Let's Start Degeneracy. And you used this term that I thought was quite interesting. You were like, "Yeah, we were reaching through the abyss to kind of like
Mhm.
find what resonated both lyrically, musically." And kind of like searching for that new, I don't know, that new inspiration for the new record.
Yeah.
So, kind of talk to me about that a little bit. Like, what was the biggest factor, do you think, in the change in sound from the previous record to Let's Start Degeneracy? Because both microwave records, but very different microwave records.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a, like for sure Death is a Warm Blanket is more of like a frustrated cathartic record where I
For
like
sure.
sort of like vented dark, uh more like dark, of the dark aspects of what was going on in my life at that time, which was more dominating in my life at the time for sure because I was very poor, which is always a challenge, trying to get by and everything, trying to pursue the dream or whatnot.
Yep.
But I feel like yeah, this time around with a let's start degeneracy that I was on more of like a healing. I feel like starting with the pandemic, and I've heard other people have a similar experience in the U.S. and whatnot, because a lot of us, we got like the stimulus check and we're like, dang, we're getting paid to do nothing and whatnot. And it was like a year of like self care. Like I feel like people started to focus on self care, and then there was this shift towards like working at home instead of going to an office and all that kind of like work life
Yeah.
balance type stuff. Uh, which I feel like just like naturally happened, not just because it was like a cultural thing on the internet or whatever, but just because like we had that time to pause and whatnot. But I feel like just also like me and Tito went in 2021 and did ayahuasca in Peru, which was part of some of the things we were alluding to with some lyrics and stuff, part of the part of the influence, I guess. But it was just a time where I was shifting towards focusing kind of on self care and trying to not be miserable and stuff, which was ultimately a healthy, trying to shift it. You know, like as you transition to adulthood, you want to make sure that you solve the things that are plaguing you.
For
You don't want
sure.
to keep you can't keep complaining about the same things and stuff. You got to figure your shit out and whatnot.
Yeah,
Which I feel like,
totally.
but honestly, I might be entering another phase of having shit that I need to figure out. But for a little bit during the time period of that record, I was definitely feeling a little more grounded. Uh, yeah, it was also, coincide. We started actually like to make a little bit of money as a band and everything. So where there's like a little, so not like a lot or whatever, but enough that there's like a basic sense of financial security.
Yeah, totally. No, I
uh,
get that. And
being able to
the,
pay rent for a few months and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a big thing. And like as you get older, the the various pieces in your life get like more complicated and more kind of interconnected is probably the best way to describe it. So like your work life will naturally affect like your romantic life, and that'll affect your career
Yeah.
aspirations, and all of these things start to get really enmeshed, and like you say, you really feel this enclosing pressure of like, man, I gotta figure this shit out. Like I can't just keep winging it
Yeah.
like I do in my 20s. So I completely resonate with that.
For sure.
um
Yeah.
I was watching a clip. A friend of the show, Andrew Sacco, who's the editor at Brooklyn Vegan, was talking about
Yeah.
emo records that went heavy, and he highlighted "Death Is a Warm Blanket" as one of those records, and
Yeah.
he described what you guys did on that record as your In Utero pivot, which I thought was like kind of funny, and I can kind of see the
Yeah.
connection there. So I wanted to kind of throw it to you. Like, if you had to describe the pivot on Let's Start Degeneracy, is there like a sonic touchstone that you would have in mind? Like a band you were listening to or something like that?
I feel like I actually I watched this video that was like curated to me on YouTube recently that was talking about like the artist brands where there's like the 12 like Carl Jung archetypes where it's
Ooh,
like,
okay.
you know what
Let's
I'm talking
go.
about, where there's like the lover and the ruler and the creator and explorer and all these things or whatever. But I feel like Nirvana was like a rebel brand, and I definitely feel like Death Is a Warm Blanket had like a sentiment of like rebelling against something or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say that would be like the Carl Jung brand.
Okay.
I feel like actually each record has one of the archetypes.
Okay.
I
So
just learned about this like 2 weeks ago. So,
no,
but I feel like the new
this is
one,
right up my alley. Let's go. So what's the new one?
yeah, I feel like the new one would be Sage. I feel like there's this sort of like self-help book, like a counselor therapist, and which is funny because I saw on
It's
people's
the cleaning your room record, getting your shit together record.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I saw on Spotify Wrapped some like I saw some people's like screenshot of what it told them about like the type of music they like the description of the genre, and
Yeah.
there was one that had like Origami Angel and Microwave and like Hot Mulligan or something, I don't know, but it said like a like self-help like or therapy talk thing, because there is a lot of like tiny moving parts and stuff. Like a lot of songs just feel like it's like keep your head up, things will get better type, like
Optimistic.
and I mean a lot
Hopefully
of the bands,
optimistic. Yeah.
yeah, or like, and just trying to like it's all because there's like the subtle sort of uh side focus on like mental health and everything
Hmm.
kind of being, or at least I mean that's like a thematic element in a lot of emo music, I feel like, uh but yeah. But I feel like, yeah, so there's like a sage sort of like, there's like a, if you treat people like that, I know that's how you treat yourself, type lines and on our new record that feel like, honestly, I felt like that was sort of my like insecurity when it was done and everything, where you've like heard the song 1,000 times and stuff, as I was like, does this sound like a, like I'm like trying to be like preachy or something?
A new self-help book for each year, annotating the path to my grave. I don't want to talk about the future, no. I don't care if I'm wasting my time. I've got time to waste and no one to participate. I've been wasting my whole life now, so
Sounds introspective, right? And I think some of the best
Yeah.
records and some of my favorite records are very introspective, and you feel like you're getting access to someone's brain, to someone's thought process, and you're along for that journey. and Let's Start Degeneracy is one of those records. I while we're talking about like Jungian archetypes and like philosophy and stuff, like first of all, that's extremely my thing. I have a philosophy degree from college, so like I'm all about
Yeah.
digging into that sort of nerdy shit. And one of the songs that sticks out for me on the new record is Ferrari. And
Hmm.
I was listening to that this morning, digging through the lyrics, and I wanted to kind of talk to you about it very specifically. Because there's a line in the first verse there where you say, like, somewhere across the plane of imminence, shouting into the void, only a fool can make a difference, and they don't really get a choice. And that kind of
Yeah.
like stuck in my brain, and I was like, I've got something here. And like, the plane of eminence is a very like Deleuzian concept, and it talks about
Yeah.
like this realm of like pure potential and kind of like pre-thought, right? And then you're
Yeah.
contrasting that with the void, and the void philosophically is meant to represent like nothingness, like the absence of everything. It's meant to be like a pure void. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what's Nathan trying to get at here? Like pure potential, pure nothing, and then saying that only a fool can make a difference. I feel like what you're saying is that like intention doesn't really matter. It's just like an illusion of control, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's like, the world is like a deterministic pinball machine or whatever, and that
Yeah.
people like I have this, it's kind of one of my foundational like under like basic, I guess, like worldview things or whatever, is that like if you had the exact same circumstances as like Jeff Dahmer, you would be Jeff Dahmer.
Yep.
Like people are just like 100% like the product of their influences, and with like artists as well. They're like pretty much every like musical artist is just like the culmination of all of their influences or whatever, like all the things that they love and stuff. So they'll have like, take this from here and that from there and whatever. But yeah, no, there's like, you can't ever put like, I don't know if I believe in like free will, basically. Like I think
Mm,
there's like, on a micro level, but it's just like the reason why you make the like decisions that you make is because of like real early programming from your parents and stuff, just like basic, the way that you like, if you're like tight with money, you're like more like loose with money, and like spend too much or spend too little, and like a lot of like attributes like that will be like sculpted into you for sure. And it's just like you, and all these things like culminate together and make who you are. So it was more of like, I guess, like a comment on like you don't actually, and also like, yeah, as like an artist also, it's sort of like, and with me, like it takes forever to write lyrics and stuff, so when you're like waiting for it's like a song is done when I think of like lyrics that I actually like to go with it or whatever. And
yeah.
sometimes that just that happens, like no matter how hard I try, I can't finish something, and then like one day it's like that would be sick, and then I love it, and then it's like, let's put this out there or whatever. So it's like you don't have a choice over, which is another thing I was thinking about with like the plane of imminence thing, is sort of like the plane of like what's about to happen, like what's going to come from the ether, from the universe in the future or whatever, that's gonna change your direction and whatnot. You're just like waiting for something, like, and the same thing for people that are like I'm trying, like a hero like Joan of Arc or something. I don't know, like there's probably a better example of like a modern day hero, but when you just like look at their influences and stuff, it's like, oh, that would happen. Like, oh, Rick Rubin's from like some like new age parents in like Manhattan, where that are teaching him about like transcendental meditation while he's like a teenager. This is like the kind of, he like is like a trust fund kid at NYU or whatever, like and he's
Yeah.
like a creative cool dude. Like of course this is the kind of like situation that creates like a Rick Rubin or whatever.
Yeah. No,
You have
I
the
totally get you.
resources, and the influences and the of like the different, yeah.
So much of like the reading that I do about like history and philosophy has really kind of reinforced this idea that like almost everything in life is contingent in the way that like nothing is ever in isolation. So like you say, like the choices that you make are a product of your conditioning and your environment, and your nature as a human being has some input, but it's never 100%. It's always like this combinatory matrix of factors and different things. So I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
I think that's super interesting, and that is 100% the answer I was looking for to that question. So thank you for
Yeah.
indulging me on that tangent.
It makes me think of also like if you ever interact with people that have like addictive personalities and stuff, like the whole like, or if you have like a family member that has been addicted to drugs or whatever it is, alcohol and stuff, it's like you can never change people that same like the same thing. Like you with people like it's like a by chance thing. Like
Yeah,
you don't get to choose if you're gonna drop alcoholism. It's like it's something that like happens to you almost. Like
yeah,
you can't make it happen to someone else. It's just like some magical some it clicks somehow one day or something. Yeah.
yeah. No,
Anyways, yeah.
I totally agree, and I can see how the trip to Peru that you mentioned in 2021, between these records, right? I can see doing an
Yeah.
ayahuasca ritual as a perhaps opening some doors in your mind to a shift in perspective and influencing some of the lyrical direction on the new record. Would I be wrong in assuming that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think it was just part of the overall, like, there's like a healing mother Gaia. Like, it's trying to, like, acknowledge, like, actually, Ferrari is a good one to highlight because I feel like that's like a theme. Like, the ultimate thing is, like, learning when to leave yourself alone, which is, like, there's a lot of different, vocabularies with, like, that like therapists would use or whatever to talk about it, but like where it's like compartmentalizing basically or whatever, like learning when to just like take a break type vibes or whatever. But it's like it's the break that was taken or whatever, that where it's like you sort of get refreshed from, because I was pretty burnt out going into, I think, like, I mean, the way that death is a warm blanket, like the vibe of the record was definitely like where I was at going into the pandemic. Like the record that we were going, that like the headline tour that we were doing for that record got cut short by the pandemic.
Yeah,
Like, so that's exactly where my head was at, was in a pretty like nihilistic the world's crashing and burning and this isn't going to work out type vibe.
yeah.
uh so it was, having the break, yeah, was kind of like a healing time, which was, I guess, what was kind of captured with the things that were finished and stuff. Yeah, was the things that I connected with like lyrically at the time or whatever, that felt like it matched. Because like, I have other songs in the bank still that are like real heavy that would call for darker lyrics and stuff again. But sometimes like you sit around trying to think of stuff and you don't want to just like uh try to finish a song or whatever. You want to actually have like something to say, or else it's like you waste people's time or whatever.
Yeah. No,
So
that's completely
and
true.
and that was just like where my head was at, was in like the heat. I was like, I want to do something that's like things get better, or things can be, yeah, you can become happy when you're really unhappy.
Another friend of the show, Cooper Riley, he sings in a band called Bad Neighbor. They're an emo band here from Australia. I think you guys played with them on the Mom Jeans tour, maybe.
Yeah.
But he's a good friend of mine, and he's a huge Microwave fan. So when I told him that we were going to do this interview, I was like, "Hey, do you have a question that you would like to ask Nathan?" And he was like, "You got to ask him about Ferrari." So like this whole chat is basically for him. He's gonna nerd the fuck out over this.
we
Um,
actually we actually put that song out while we were in Australia the last time too.
oh
Like,
shit.
what that like part of like when I think about that song, we were on the Mom Jeans tour, and we were planning all of like it was like the week we came home from the Australia tour, but it was like that was while were doing all of like the videos for the posts and stuff.
Million ways to drive that nail into its hole, to keep running in place, 'cause it's a bit more comfortable than peeling out the veil from that illusion of control, and learning when to leave yourself.
I wanted to ask you as well about nostalgia, because I feel like I'm at this point in my life where a lot of the music that I listen to, a lot of the bands that I hold very dear, all put out records in the 2000s. you know, when I was kind of coming out of my teenage years into my young adult
Yeah.
years. And all of these records, you know, have a special place in my heart. But I'm wrestling with this idea of like leaning too hard on nostalgia and kind of like not wanting to be pulled in by the seduction of like everything that's old is better than all of the things that are being created now. And as an artist, I'm sure you feel that tension because like you're obviously inspired by things, but you're also trying to create
Yeah.
new things. So I wanted to ask you, like, what's your relationship to nostalgia? Do you indulge in it a little bit? Are you hating it? Like, how do you deal with that tension?
I feel like a lot of my favorite music and stuff I don't even really think about when it came out. It's just like a timeless classic and whatnot,
Mm,
like on a personal level or whatever. I feel like the nostalgia thing engages more on like a music business, and because like the reality of things uh is, which like everyone in the music business knows, I feel like, is that nostalgia is like one of is like what pays the most.
for
Because just
sure,
for a lot of people,
100%.
because a lot of people that go to shows and that are just the type of people that like attend concerts and stuff, nostalgia is really big for them. So
Mm,
like when it's the nostalgia tour, when it's like the 20-year tour of like the like a Taking Back Sunday or Haggard or something, people buy, you know, twice the merch and stuff. It's just like
yeah,
just the right, like people love that. They're like, yeah, I do want to remember this. That's my favorite record. It's 20 years old. I'm gonna get 2 sweaters, 2 shirts. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like
it's a
for some
moneymaker.
reason it like
Yeah,
the nostalgia makes people like not care about, or like yeah spend recklessly. No.
yeah. No,
but
you're
so I
exactly
feel like
right.
there's, yeah, I feel like that factor, which is honestly, as a band, like I'm not, you know, that there's that almost makes it like nonsensical to not do some, like to do some like 10-year 20-year like album plays and stuff, is it, because it's just like you're leaving money on the table, which is almost just like disrespectful to those that don't have money or whatever, you know.
Sure.
They're like, what, you're just gonna leave? Yeah.
Would you guys do like a 10-year tour for Much Love? Because like that's coming up next year. So like you're already hitting that milestone.
That's a good idea. I don't know. That would be a, if it was a thing, it would definitely be top secret. That's for sure. No.
Okay, fair. Fair, fair.
Yeah.
Um, to kind of close out here, Nathan, I wanted to kind of ask you, I guess, like what you're looking forward to about coming back to Australia. And I was kind of reading a interview that you did with some press down here, and you mentioned being a big Speed fan. And
Yeah.
Speed, friends of the show, great band, we love them. I wanted to know, are you going to try and see them while you're here? Because
Are they playing?
you have one
Oh,
overlap date in Perth at the very end of the tour.
wow, that would be cool to see
Yeah.
them. Are they like a bigger band in Australia than they are in the US? Are they like huge in Australia or
I
something?
mean, I don't know if they're bigger, but they're fucking huge here. Like
Yeah.
they're like selling out their tour here. They're bringing over a band from Thailand called Whispers who are fucking sick. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know if that show was sold out, but it's an all ages hardcore show, and it's on the same day that you're playing Perth. So maybe you can make it out. I
Word.
don't know.
Dude, I would love to. Yeah, I saw them. I saw them with Knock Loose in Salt Lake City. We played it.
Mm,
We had our tour with Origami Angel and stuff last year. Played Salt Lake City the same day that they played like the larger room at the same venue. Knocked Loose and Speed and Show Me the Body and stuff.
yeah.
It was a sick tour. I love all those fans. But yeah, that was where I learned about Speed actually, or from that tour, from seeing them on the flyer and stuff. But I didn't know, because there's all those bands like Violent Soho, where like they're like way bigger in Australia than the US. So I was like, a Speed, like a Slayer or something over there. I think
I
they're like
mean,
at the playing playing arenas or whatever.
they're definitely a big band, and I mean, like on this tour that they're doing,
Yeah,
they're kind of sticking to like the hardcore kind of like ethos, right? So like they're playing 4 shows in Melbourne, but they're all small shows. So like they're able to like essentially sell out smaller venues and play like a whole bunch of different shows rather than just doing like one big like semi arena show, which they could absolutely do. So Yeah, I think I don't know if they're
Yeah,
Slayer big, but they're definitely big. They're killing it.
yeah, hell yeah. No, I would love to. I would love to see him in Perth.
Yeah, you should. You should check them out. Nathan, I wanted to say thank you very much for coming on the show. This has been a dope chat.
Yeah.
And once again, I appreciate you taking some time at a rest stop to just shoot the shit with me. This was awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you
Like,
so much,
it's
dude.
actually really nice where I'm at. It's been a nice stop. It feels great outside.
I'm happy we could do
Anyways,
this
yeah.
for you. That was great. Hello, Owen popping in to say, please sign up for the TPD Patreon. This is what helps us keep the lights on and keep the show going. The link is at the bottom of your screen right now, patreon.com/tpdpod. All of our patrons get exclusive access to Side B of our roundup episodes, so you get a few extra tracks, as well as our feature album discussion and the full show experience. Our patrons also get exclusive access to behind the scenes, off the cuff chit chat from all of our guest episodes. But the patrons are the ones who make all of this happen. For as little as $5 a month, you can sign up to the TPD Patreon, and it really helps us out, really helps us keep the show going. So shout out to all of our patrons, shout out to our executive producer patrons. You're the real ones. And yeah, thank you so much for watching the show.